At this point, we have created 5 different streams inside of our application. I just want to give you a quick little note when you're using that JSON server as our API, how you can kind of clean up and manually manipulate some of the different streams that get created. So over time, you might want to kind of delete a bunch of data from the JSON server without having to manually delete. And heck, we haven't even wired up that delete button just yet. So let me very quickly show you how you can do that. I'm going to open up my terminal, and I'm going to change over to that API directory. So remember, we have the streams folder. Inside of there is the client and API file folders. So I'm going to change into API. And then inside of here, we should see that db.json file. Recall that is what holds all the data inside of our application. Now, inside of the API directory, I want you to start up your code editor. If you have wired up your code editor to open up from the terminal, then go ahead and do so. Otherwise, open up your code editor manually and open up the API directory. So now inside that API folder, I'll see a couple of different files here. So I've got the package.json files, and I've got the db.json file. So inside of db.json, you'll see all the different records that we have now created. I've got ID 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So if you want to make any changes manually to the data inside of your application, you can just change this file. That's it. So for example, if I wanted to delete the last 2 posts that I created, or the last 2 streams, excuse me, I can just manually delete them. And make sure you clean up the comma on the trailing end as well. I can then save this file. When I change back over to my terminal that is running the API server, I'll see an automatic reload right here. So the API server is automatically watching the db.json file. If you change it, that API server is going to automatically restart. Now, if I go back over to my application, I can refresh the page, and I'll see that those 2 streams disappeared. All right, so that's pretty much it. That's how we manually change data on the API server if you want to. Over time, as we start to create more and more streams, as we are testing things, you will eventually see my data on the screen change every now and then. That's because I am manually deleting streams just to keep this list a little bit manageable so that you can easily see everything in the video. Okay, so now that you know how to change your data, you can close this extra code editor if you want to. Otherwise, you can, of course, leave it open if you want to change your list of streams over time. It's totally up to you. But I'm going to go ahead and close mine. All right, let's take a quick pause right here, and we'll continue in the next section.